All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, Kevin. Sorry for the
Hi.
delay here. Our previous session today was with the university president, and it was going on a while. We were having
No
a
worries.
discussion, a little delayed.
No worries. No, glad that we can be here. I see we have Ken and Myrish on right now.
Yeah, so we're a little behind, a little behind the Harvard 7 minutes after the hour starting time. So no trouble. All right, and our fellows are coming in now.
Awesome. Great. All right, and there's Rand. So everyone from CPL is in here.
All right, fantastic. So yeah, people have moved over very quickly, so that's great. The BSU team is almost fully here. So we'll just maybe give people 30 more seconds to come over from the other link. All right, very swift moving between links, everyone. This is great. Much quicker than walking between classrooms. All right.
That is very true.
Not as healthy for us, but mostly all assembled here. All right, so I'll just give some brief preliminary remarks here. This is our weekly overview session for week 5. And you all enjoyed our Harvard visit last week to talk with our colleagues at the Center for African Studies. So to build on the excitement and momentum with that, we have some special guests here today from the Harvard Kennedy School of Government's Center for Public Leadership. We've been really privileged to have visits to their campus in the past. They're part of the Harvard campus. And we really look forward to hearing their insights today about the work that's done to advance public leadership in the United States and internationally at the Kennedy School. So Kevin, do you want to begin the program and introduce your colleagues?
Yeah, sure. I can just jump in real quick. So we have 3 folks from the Center for Public Leadership here on the call. We have Ken Himmelman, who is our executive director. I think he's gonna kick it off, and then he'll send it over to Myrish Antonio, who is the director of fellowships and leadership development at CPL, and then she will kick it over quickly to Rand Wentworth, who's a faculty member with CPL. He runs events with us. He oversees one of the fellowship programs. He just sort of is the jack of all trades at CPL. So I think Ken will sort of kick it off and just give a high level overview, and we'll go from there.
Hey, thanks, Kevin, and hello, everybody. My name is Ken Himmelman. I'm the executive director here at the Center for Public Leadership. And the Center for Public Leadership is one of the 11 research centers at the Harvard Kennedy School. As you probably know, the Kennedy School primarily focuses on awarding master's degrees to students interested in pursuing a master's in public policy or a master's in public administration. And there are a number of different research centers at the school that focus on, different questions, different issues like the role of business in democracy and national affairs and a variety of different things. At the Center for Public Leadership, we really focus on the core question around what is public leadership? How do people go on to take on the big challenges that we face as a country, as a global society, such as climate change, such as the future of work, such as the role of gender and race, and thinking about issues of equity and inclusion, and how do we prepare a generation of leaders, no matter what they go on to do specifically, are prepared to think about the challenges that these problems present. So we run a number of different programs. We have, Myrish can talk a little bit more about our fellowships. We have 10 different fellowship programs that provide funding for over 100 students to come and study at the Kennedy School. And then we run a variety of faculty-led programs and initiatives that focus on social innovation, social change, and sort of public problem solving. So it's a pleasure to be with you. Look forward to my colleagues telling you more about the work that they do, and of course, being available to talk more as the conversation goes on. So I'll pass it on to Myrish.
Thank you, Ken. And well, good afternoon from this side of the world. And I think, Megan, I remember meeting you in the past. maybe twice pre-COVID. And so we will probably want to imagine that we're at the Darman conference room where we normally meet everybody. And I would love to start presenting from where Ken has left off by putting in the chat. And I know you may have scoured our website at one point or another, but just in case, those are an overview, high level, of our 10 fellowship programs that Ken has mentioned at the Center for Public Leadership. So CPL's mission is training and developing principled, effective public leaders. And because we sit at the heart of HKS, our work really primarily involves students at the Kennedy School. So part of what we do, in addition to our 10 fellowships that actually spring from between 125 this year to about 140 incoming in academic year 2021-22, is also leadership development programming for the rest of the HKS student body. So at the heart of our mission are these 10 fellowship programs that actually work together with emerging leaders worldwide. Our fellows are about 21% international from 20 countries around the world, 42% women, and more than half are United States domestic US students of color. In addition to their tuition support, very significantly, many of them enjoy a full tuition waiver. We work with them for a 1-year scaffolded leadership development program, letting them have opportunities to have a personal reflection over where they are in their lives, why are they at HKS at this point in their lives, and where do they want to go after through an individual personal leadership development plan. And then they hold weekly cohort meetings within their own cohorts. And we have also opportunities. We're hoping we will have some in-person ways of doing that this next academic year to meet fellows across fellowships. So as you can probably see in the website, and I will call on one of my colleagues who will talk very specifically about one of our fellowships. But of the 10 fellowship programs, you will see that they are a variety of different fellowships that cover different policy interests, like our Bacon Fellowship that Rand will talk about is for environmental leaders. We have emerging leaders who are working in the social change space, our Gleitzman Fellowships. And we have those who are within the tri-sector space of business and public policy, our Rubenstein, our Zuckerman, and our George Fellows. We also have sectoral fellowships, for example, the Black Family Fellows, who are veterans and active military duty students, and then some regional fellowships like the Wexner Israel Fellowships and the Emirates Leadership Initiative Fellowship. So please have a look at our website and you will see our different fellowships. We do selections every February, and people do need to apply first to HKS before they can apply to a CPL fellowship. And when you become a CPL fellow, other than joining our CPL fellowship community, you also become part of our 850 plus strong alumni community across the world. So with that, I would love to now turn it over to Rand Wentworth, who is our Senior Bacon Fellow for Environmental Leadership, who work very closely with our Bacon Environmental Leadership Fellows. Go ahead, Rand.
Thank you, Myrish, and hello, everyone. I so wish that we could be together in person and I could hear your stories, but I'm just impressed and grateful that you're investing your time to develop your own leadership skills and to make your country, your community stronger. Just a little about myself. I've had a blended career. I started in the private sector after getting an MBA, and then decided that what I most needed to do was help with environmental and climate issues. So I've spent most of my career in Washington, D.C. as president of a national environmental organization called the Land Trust Alliance. Now I have the pleasure of teaching here at Harvard and working with young people from around the world. The class I just finished teaching this spring had people from Nigeria and Angola, Uganda, South Africa, Tunisia, Ethiopia, and Asia, Europe, and South America. So Yeah, the Kennedy School, I think, is one of the most diverse places on earth. There are people from 100 different countries here at any given moment. And that brings such an exciting level of exchange between people who have similar problems, approach them differently, and we learn from each other. Within the Bacon Environmental Fellowship, which I run at the Center for Public Leadership, it's very specifically on the issue of environment and energy and climate change. So we have people from around the world who are working with those issues who come here to the Kennedy School for 2 years. And in addition to the really excellent coursework here, they're a very tight-knit group of peer learners. We learn from each other. We run through every week, we have 2 or 3 hours together where we'll be doing leadership development exercises. And as the semester progresses, the students take more and more responsibility for running the actual programs. They teach each other what they're specifically really good at. For example, we have one student who has been with Citibank and now with WWF on finance, environmental finance. He gave a brilliant workshop on his work, and then we all benefited from that. We also bring in scholars from around Harvard and international environmental leaders who either come to campus in ordinary times, or in the past year, we had them join us virtually by Zoom. I wanted to just close with my own sense of leadership training and leadership development. It's a very hard thing to enter into somebody's soul and help them shape the strength, the courage to be a stronger leader. This does not come easily. I'm firmly committed to experiential learning as the way to develop leadership. I've been through many boring lectures, PowerPoint lectures, telling me what I should do to be a leader, but I don't think any of that really changes people's lives. So here at the Harvard Kennedy School, many of our very best teachers may be great scholars, they write papers and books, but in the classroom, we're really about engaging students intensively in the emotional vulnerability it takes to be a strong leader. Teachers like Marshall Gans or Ron Heifetz or Brian Mandel are world known for their dynamic classroom experience. The Center for Creative Leadership, which here in the United States does a lot of work with top government officials, uses 2 words to describe leadership development, leadership changing. They call it intensity and stretch. Intensity is you're experiencing something, maybe your palms are sweating, you feel time intensity, you feel the pressure to do something well, and stretch is doing something maybe with people you've never worked with before or a field you've never worked with. Both intensity and stretch bring you to a place where you're vulnerable. And then the courage you have to press on and to keep doing, keep learning through those kind of experiences. That's really, I think, where the heart of leadership development happens. And that certainly is what I teach and the approach I take in my courses and with the Bacon Fellows. I'm especially interested with environmental politics. So in my class, we do live, real-time challenges on persuasion, on negotiation, on advocacy. These are all experiential challenges for the students to get stronger in their leadership skills. So that's a little bit about my work in the environmental field, but of course the Kennedy School addresses a wide range of really pressing global needs.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for those comments. Kevin, did you want to add any other remarks before we open things up to discussion?
No, I mean, I think that these 3, represent, CPL as a whole. So just want to thank Rand, Myrish, and Ken for spending a little time and sharing some information.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all so much for joining us. I can think of many different connections that all of our fellows have to the work of the CPL. So we'll take a little bit of time now for questions or comments from our fellows. So again, feel free to raise your hand on Zoom or ask a question in the chat. Any questions from our fellows? Questions about fellowship opportunities, connections with your work, anything else? So while people think about questions, I just want to share a little bit more about our fellows. So we have fellows this year who come from 16 different countries. We have 25 fellows altogether. And these fellows, as you can see from what they've shared in the chat, you get a chance to look at that, come from a really wide diversity of professional fields, from physicians, teachers, librarians, human rights advocates. We have people working in climate issues. Chisholm's work seems to connect very well with what Rand was just talking about. So a lot of really, really interesting leadership connections we might see here. Any questions? If there are no questions, that's all right. You guys asked a lot of questions before. Okay, Charles, thank you. Dr. Charles Gaboli will ask a question. Charles is from Liberia.
Okay, thank you very much. It's always a great pleasure to speak to people from Howard. Like we said in the last talk we had, it's always every man's dream to make it to Howard University, even if it's at the slightest gathering. So we are glad as part of this fellowship to have you people with us and to share with us what you're doing. So all of us can go ahead trying to, push it. But I think we have much interest in a lot of activities or fellowships, events you have. Even though I think you shared a link that we can go there and specifically check for ourselves to see what we are interested in or what are the available requirements that are there we try to take advantage of. So I think the first concern I will raise is, when we think Howard, of course, we think competition, we think, trying to be among the best in the world. So the first question I would like to ask is around how can one really maneuver the process in terms of what to consider. I mean, in the application process, in terms of because I know many of you, other perhaps you've gone through the program one way or the other, and would like you to maybe take some time to share with us, because when we're going through wanting to apply for the programs, we'll be thinking, what really are we to do, or what is it the vetting the committee is looking for to promote success. So that's really the first question I would like you to please share with us, how we can make it through some of these competitions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ken, do you want me to take on the question? Okay, thank you so much for that question. Well, first of all, we are always looking for people like you who are deeply committed to making a difference in the world. But I will want to put up front what I think I mentioned, that the first step to actually applying for a CPL fellowship is to first apply for an HKS degree program application. And that usually ends in December. There are 4 degree programs in addition to a PhD that's offered by HKS. There's a Master of Public Administration, 2 years. There's the mid-career Masters of Public Administration, which you probably are all a little bit more familiar with. There's a 2-year MPP, Master in Public Policy, and there's the 2-year Master of Public Administration in International Development. Now, once you've looked at that and whether or not you meet the requirements for both work experience as well as whatever they're looking for at HKS, when you apply for a CPL fellowship, some of the generic things that we look for, in addition to the specific mission for each of the fellowships, is we're looking for people, in addition to being deeply committed to making a difference in the world, those people who have demonstrated leadership potential. And we're not looking for merely position. We're looking for people who have led from the front and from the back, who demonstrate that you have really indeed produced change in the communities that you serve. We're also looking for consistent display of public service. we are the Center for Public Leadership, and we're looking for training and educating, working together with people deeply committed in the realm of public leadership around the world. So we would like to see that in your resume, in your purpose statement, in your essay, to the essay questions that you can see from our website as well, to see that this is really the direction you would like to take in life and not only an afterthought maybe 1 or 2 years ago. And then we're looking also for, in general, as a factor among factors, diversity, including gender, race, sexual orientation, policy interest, work experience, because we are looking to put together a group of people who are both multidisciplinary, but also committed to growing personally and professionally through our community at HKS and CPL. So if you have any specific questions on any of the fellowships, please feel free to reach out to myself, Ken, and Rand, who are here. You can see our emails in the CPL website, and we would be happy to chat in an individual conversation with any of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's take 2 questions in a row from Sharuna and Dorothy, and then we'll turn it over to you all to respond to that before we let you go on with your day. I know we're running a little over time. So Sharuna.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to know more about the PhD programs. And then my second question would be, I really liked when you spoke about the emotional process of leadership as well, because this is something that, we're learning a lot about leadership in this fellowship, but very often the emotional part of it, which is very internal, very deep and personal, we tend to kind of go through it alone. So what tips would you have? I know this is very, it might be complicated to cover that in a short question, but maybe like one advice that you might have for us, because all of us in our different ways are kind of leaders in our own rights, and it can get very hard because sometimes everything is against you. So what would you have as an advice? And then more on the PhD program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we'll take Dorothy's question before we have a response to that. Thanks. Dorothy?
Yeah, I was curious how many, which programs are covered under the HKS and CPL?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So great. So another question about the program offerings. All right, thank you.
Okay, maybe I can take the doctoral programs and the program offerings, and I'll give it up to Ken and Rand to respond to the question on leadership. That might be a good way to distribute among ourselves. So Sharuna, if I'm correct in pronouncing your name, I have placed on the chat a link to additional information on the doctoral programs at HKS. It also includes who to reach out to for any additional information. And like the other degree programs, the deadline for application there is also in December of each year. As regards the second question, and I'm not sure if I got it right, you probably are asking among our 140 fellows coming in, what degree programs do they cover? So I will say about 51% of those coming into the CPL fellowships are actually single degree program holders, meaning they are taking any of the 4 degree programs at HKS. We do not have PhD fellows. For now, we haven't covered that. We don't know in the future, but they are 51% have degrees are pursuing degrees in public administration, public policy, or public administration, international development. A good 49% are pursuing what you call joint degree programs, meaning programs that involve schools either in Harvard or outside Harvard that is beyond HKS. So they actually pursue their degree programs in 3 to 4 years. So we have those pursuing a Kennedy School degree, let's say a public policy degree with a business school, a public administration degree with a law school, or with other schools outside of Harvard. So a public policy degree at HKS with Stanford, or with the University of Pennsylvania. So this is it's a very diverse gamut of students who are pursuing various degree programs, but deeply rooted in public leadership. So may I now turn it over to Ken and Rand?
Thanks.
Well, let me jump in. Shruna, you are right that this is more than we can do in the 2 minutes remaining. But let me just say that for so many students that walk through the doors of the Harvard Kennedy School, we all have this impression of what a strong leader is. You know, in my country, it's typically a man. It's a strong man, a big voice, a lot of charisma and confidence. And maybe that's similar to the leaders you see in your country. What the research is showing, though, increasingly, is that that kind of leadership style, while it may hold power in the short term, is not the best for transformational change. In fact, the things we're seeing that really make a difference is not somebody's capacity to, do a policy analysis or economics. It's your ability to build relationships and form teams, and that those teams, where you're giving power to others, seem to be what's really moving now. I would say within that, strengthening your skills in listening, and it's almost a spiritual practice of humility. In my own life experience, I believe what my president, Harry Truman, once said, that you can get anything done if you don't mind who gets the credit. So there's 2 minutes worth. Ken, anything you want to add?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think Shruna, you've raised such an important question about the sort of emotional element of this. And I think it's, I would only just add that I think Rand is right in saying that we think a lot about the community that you build, because, leadership is a long-term game, and having people around you who share a mindset and a sensibility and a kind of an orientation to problem solving is almost as important as any technical ability you may develop. And so whether it's here or anywhere else, I would encourage you to think about how are you not just getting a particular set of skills, but how are you building a community around yourself that can sustain you through the different challenges that leadership presents? Because I think that is really a central question for everybody. No easy answer there. Certainly not in this quick venue, but thanks for the question. It was a great one.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you all for your comments and your time. We really appreciate this. I see we have a couple other little questions in the chat that Myrish has gracefully replied to here. So some questions about the logistics of online courses, a disability studies course possibility. So you all can read through that in the chat. So thank you so much, Kevin, Myrish, Rand, and Ken for joining us today. It's been a real privilege to have you here. If you don't mind, I'll circulate your contact information, and then fellows can follow up with any other logistical or sort of intellectually searing questions that may come up that we don't quite have time to get into right now. So thank you all so much. Be well, and I look forward to seeing you in person next time around, hopefully. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Take good care.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So fellows, stick around. Just the Harvard folks will be leaving now. And so we'll be speaking now about our weekly overview, the other events that will be coming up this week. Is Jabril still here? Oh, there he is. He's in the top row. Sorry, you moved places when people left. Okay, great.
I'm here.
All right, cool.
And I think there's some fellows who left because there's some people who are gone.
Yeah, I'm noticing, I feel like more people left than the Harvard group. So Kemi, is Kemi still here? Kemi, where did your face go? Oh, did Kemi leave? Okay, so let me just send everybody a note to come back on Blink. Just a moment.
We'll send it. I think Kemi left too.
Yeah, I know, so I'll send the link now. You're all, please come back.
I think just a few left. Most are here.
Okay. If you're all please return, yeah. We are still meeting. Okay. So I think some others may have been confused. All right, so we just had a lot to talk about and think about. And I think that, Rand's closing remarks in response to Sharuna's question were really apposite, right? This idea that leadership is not about being a, glamorous sort of great man figure necessarily, but rather building a team, listening to people, making those connections, right? And I think that President Clark, in his experiences of leadership, was certainly showing how that dynamic has played out at our institutions. I think that was a really fortuitous partnering of guest speakers that we had with us today. And if we have any spare time at the end of this session, we can further digest and make some connections between what we just saw in both cases. But we want to make sure we have enough time to give you a brief preview of where we're going with the rest of this week. So first of all, an email I sent you this morning about the Ignite talks. So you also got an email from IREX. Sorry if I'm blowing up your inboxes. I just want to make sure we're all seeing that communication. So it's the process is a little bit complicated insofar as you'll be using Flipgrid, which is an app that is new to me. It may be new to many of you. There are 9 pages of instructions about how to use Flipgrid, which seems like maybe a bit much. Hopefully it's not that hard. I believe that from my impression of exploring the technology this morning, I think it may be easier for a lot of people if you're accustomed to making videos in another format to simply record your talk as a .mp4 file or a .mov file. And then you can upload it as a finished file to Flipgrid as part of the Ignite Talk presentation. It strikes me that would be easier to do, and also easier because then you have a copy of your recording. Because as I understand it, when you upload to Flipgrid, you don't get to keep a downloadable copy of your speech. It's just viewable streaming in Flipgrid. So in short, right, review those instructions, but you may find it more useful to record in a different app and then simply upload to Flipgrid. You also need to include a transcript of your talk so that people can review it more easily. And so that needs to be submitted to the fellowship portal, either directly, as the instructions tell you about, or as a link to a Google Doc file. So simply a transcript of your remarks. And the deadline for the Ignite talks is 11:59 Eastern time. So that is 3:59 in the morning, Thursday morning in GMT. So basically, by the time you go to bed on Wednesday, hopefully that's not at 4 in the morning, you'll submit your Ignite talks and their transcripts. And Wednesday, we don't have any live sessions, so you hopefully will have a little bit more time to put any finishing touches on the talk and the transcript and deal with any technological challenges that might emerge. If any technological challenges do emerge, don't hesitate to reach out to those of us on the core team, and we can help you troubleshoot and make sure that things get uploaded before the deadline. And then after things are uploaded, we'll ask you to review all of your cohort mates' speeches. So we're all looking forward to seeing all these speeches too. This should be a lot of fun. So you'll review everyone's speech and you'll vote for your top 3 Ignite talks. You'll send that vote to Kemi, who will keep that all very confidential. So even if we try to tease her and make her share, she won't. So she'll maintain the confidentiality around that as the voting process goes on. And then the top 3 vote gainers will be presenting their talks in our final session with the Ignite speeches next week. So it is pretty exciting. I know some of you have already done your Ignite speeches for the summit competition. And if that's the case and you win the summit competition, you'll be notified next week. IREX hasn't specified a day yet, so hopefully maybe we'll get somebody to the big stage. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But again, even if you have submitted to the summit competition, you need to submit the video again for this competition or for this round because of the way that they're collecting these materials. So everyone has to submit to Flipgrid and the accompanying transcript. Do you guys have any logistical questions about that process? No? Okay, I know that folks have had some really great ideas for their Ignite talks. I've had the pleasure to talk to a lot of people about this already. I wanted to make sure that the tech stuff was covered today. Yes, Sharuna?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not about
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sharuna. And then I think Charles is trying to speak next. So Sharuna first.
Just a question that's been on my mind for a couple of days. Not so much about the Ignite talk because I tried doing it for the summit. I couldn't do it. So I'll start doing it again, reading all the instructions, etc. And my accountability partner is really amazing. So I have help. I wanted to know all the information, our classes, all the material on Canvas after we're finished with the fellowship. Is it still going to be accessible to us?
That's a very good question. Wing Kai, do you know the answer to that?
I think at least for a period of time, it will still be available, but I have to double check how long it will be available. So all of you would still have access to the Canvas site, and I will check with the with IREX and Department of State and give you an exact time frame about how they're available. We have two formats for you to receive the information. One is the Canvas. The other is that you might have noticed that recently I've sent you a weekly summary of all the videos and PowerPoint, and you could also get access from there by saving it to your folders. I hope this helps.
Yeah, no, that's a great question because as you say, we've had a lot of really useful resources, and I feel like it's difficult to digest all the live programming I'm doing from week to week, but you all are doing so much more than that. So it's a lot, and having a record will be very useful. All right, any other questions? Yeah, Sharuna, did you have something else?
Yes, there's a feature which talks about collaboration where you could start projects with other members. I was particularly curious about that feature as well. So other than the material, are we still going to be able to, for example, to implement the focus project? Even after the fellowship is over, would that feature still be accessible to us? Thank you very much.
The feature, I didn't quite follow what you're saying, the feature to communicate with people about their focus projects?
I think to collaborate, you can start a project and rope in people to collaborate with on a project. So I found that quite user-friendly, but I just wanted to make sure, in terms of the logistics, would we be able to do it after?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, we'll check on that with IREX for sure.
And also the information would still be available during the summit, and I'm sure that they will be covering that on the during the summit in the first week of August.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, and certainly the focus project content, should be viewable because those projects are meant to be only starting when you leave the fellowship. So that'll be very useful. All right, great.
And they also still have the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
You can continue on WhatsApp for as long as you want to discuss and talk and collaborate.
Yeah, no, WhatsApp will be a fantastic resource. And I believe there's some other alumni groups that IREX coordinates that they might not be as lively as the WhatsApp groups, but I know previous cohorts of fellows maintain connections on WhatsApp with each other as well, for sure. Okay, so I see some anxiety in the chat about the Ignite talks, but don't worry, they're going to be great, right? It's 3 to 5 minutes, right? Tell your story, make your point. You guys are all fantastic communicators, so I'm confident that these are going to be outstanding talks. Charles, did you want to say something as well?
Yeah, I had some experience with downloading for the summit that time, and I was nearly caught up with time. So this time I thought to make sure I really do it. In fact, it was my top priority today. So using my previous experience, I just went through initially the submission. Attaching the link was optional, and then I used that same thing. But then I realized when I read the guidelines later on, now I realized that we are to upload the script, the transcript, in the somewhere maybe in Google Drive or so, and attached. So I attached the video without the link. So I was thinking whether I have the chance to withdraw what I uploaded first or upload again with the Google link that I left behind actually. So I was really thinking about what could be the way forward. I first downloaded because I did it previously. So attaching the link was optional, but now I realized from the guidelines that it is not, because you have to attach the transcript link to the video itself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
believe. Yeah, I believe that you can also submit the transcript link in a separate link on the fellowship portal. So you could just do a submission that's a Flipgrid video and then separately submitting the link on the fellowship portal. So try that. And if that doesn't work, let me know. But I believe that's from my understanding of the process. I believe you can do that.
Okay.
But yeah, but Charles' advice about time is really good. So, everyone try to do this a little bit earlier than the deadline.
Yeah, especially if you already have the video. Like some of us who did it earlier, just resubmitting now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll try.
Yeah, but the team and I'll try to be at our computers on Wednesday night, hoping there's not any last minute crises, but hopefully things won't be too difficult this time around. And last time, I think the WhatsApp group was really useful for technical advice for people that were struggling with uploading for the summit. So, please continue to help each other. That's enormously valuable as you're all going through this experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so any other questions about the mechanics of the Ignite Talk submission? So the other big thing we'll talk about this week is community service. Before we get there, though, I just want to talk briefly about other things happening this week, right? So tomorrow we have one required event, which will be 5 o'clock GMT. That's another one of these supplemental leadership sessions. And with that one, Jabril, you want to talk a little bit about the content of it? It's furthering this discussion of educational equity with a couple of other special guest speakers.
I'm sorry, please, can I just
sure,
ask
Dora.
one question?
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, the question on the Ignite Talk, because someone in my, from my home country group said he added slides to his Ignite Talk. So I was wondering how this works, because it doesn't make any sense to me. I thought the instruction was to record yourself, so I'm confused.
I would not add slides to your Ignite Talk because it's so short, right? You just want to show, it's like a speech, right? You just want to show your face, show yourself talking. So I wouldn't find that useful. Also, people will be able to read the transcript, so they have a visual, they have your, so I would just record yourself speaking. Okay, Jabril, you want to talk a little bit about tomorrow?
Sure. Tomorrow we have a supplemental leadership session, and it's going to focus on equity. And how do you use equity as part of your mindset in the decision-making and in your leadership approach? So we have two presenters, and they're going to give you two different perspectives. Elena who's from the state of Massachusetts, Department of Higher Education, as she's going to present how at the state level and the Department of Higher Education, which oversees all the public higher education institutions in the state, she is one of the officers working on those projects. She's going to give an overview of how does the state put in place laws, rules, regulations, requirements, and recommendations that every public university has to implement in order to ensure that there's equity for all students. And not only just students, but also for employees and all participants. So she'll give you a nice overview so you can kind of see how it works at the state government level. The second presenter is Sabrina. Sabrina works at BSU at Bridgewater. She's a vice president. She also works to ensure that there's equity across the university. Every public university has almost like what I would call an equity officer, someone whose job is to ensure that inside the university, students, faculty, staff, and all of the administrators are able to work using this lens of equity to ensure that all students, regarding their gender, race, ethnicity, income, background, have equitable access to all the resources, all the opportunities that will support their success. So you'll kind of hear the leadership, the different formats of leadership. They have a wonderful PowerPoint presentation. Following their two presentations, Megan and I are going to help you move into a discussion forum. We have some questions that we're preparing to sort of like guided question to engage you in the conversation. But that's kind of one of the big sessions we're doing tomorrow. And hopefully you can start thinking about what does equity means in your own country. When you think of equity, particularly some of you that are coming from countries where you've raised concerns about corruption, you raised concerns about nepotism, you raised concern about favoritism, you raised concern about people almost like hijacking government as if it's their own family business and they're just passing it down to their friends and to their loved ones and to their children. When you think about all of these things, something I want you to really kind of start to think about, particularly for you as a leader, what does equity means in the context of your own cultural realities? And as a leader, what would you do to ensure that when you reach prominence in your leadership, that you will exercise an equity-minded type of leadership to resolve the issue related to corruptions and nepotism and all those kinds of things. So that's kind of sort of, you know, where that session is going. And those are the sort of the main focus of the session for tomorrow. Megan?
Yeah, thank you. And before that, we also have a bonus optional session, which you're all warmly invited to attend in honor of Mandela Day, which was celebrated yesterday. And I appreciated Tumi and Kathleen and some others on the chat sharing things that were happening and acts of service in their countries for Mandela Day yesterday. So we'll be hosting an open discussion on COVID-19 and its challenges to your leadership. So you're all welcome to attend. That will begin at 4 o'clock GMT. So it'll be right before our required session tomorrow, if you have the time and interest in attending. So if you plan to attend, prepare about 2 to 3 minutes, prepare to talk for about 2 to 3 minutes about the challenges that this era of the pandemic has introduced to leadership in your organization, in your community, in your country, and what strategies you've devised to innovate in response to these challenges. So this will be a really brilliant sort of continuation of our discussion with President Clark just now. And also this will be our substitute Mandela Day activity for the one that was canceled with South Africa partners, as we discussed in the weekly overview last week. And I also just want to add my personal sort of best wishes to me and Shego this past week. I know, I have a lot of friends and colleagues in South Africa, particularly in Durban and KZN, but I know things in Gauteng have been really difficult as well. So we really appreciate your continued involvement in this challenging time to have a Mandela Day. All right, so that's for tomorrow. Wednesday, you don't have any live activities, so you can focus on that Ignite speech. You should also be working on your focus projects this week. You should have your third meeting with your coach. As usual, if you're having any trouble scheduling your meeting with your coach, please reach out to Jabril and me, and we can help facilitate those connections. But I've been continuing to hear wonderful things from both fellows and coaches, so that's great. These seem like really, really productive connections. And then Thursday, you'll have your second Community of Practice Forum. So that'll be at 3 o'clock GMT. You should have received some more correspondence from your Community of Practice facilitators about that. If you haven't, reach out to that hosting university again. And then after that, Jabril, you'll explain this again, your big day, your community service presentations that I know people have been working on over this past week. You'll be unveiling those on Thursday at 4:15 GMT. So Jabril, I'm going to speak about that before we wrap up.
Sure. So Thursday, you have your community service sessions. Now, keep in mind that the community service session is, if you were in the United States here with us, you will actually go to the agencies and perform a community service. You actually do something and earn credit. So how you will perform this community service, like I explained before, getting together with your group and working on a presentation is part of the performance. You're spending time performing that. Putting that presentation together and sharing it during your community service session is part of the performing of your community service. And then participating in the discussion forums. Cami will send you right after this meeting. She will send you all the details. And the final details you're going to get is you all have already pre-selected a community service session option. And Cami, thank you so much. She organized it all. So we know I think we have 6 fellows per session. And each one of you have pre-selected. She has it organized. We have it on a grid, ready to go. What she's going to be sending you right after this meeting is going to be for each one of those, the group that you're joining, you're going to have the link and one of us who's moderating that session. So all you need to do on Thursday is you just click on the link that takes you directly to the community service session that you already pre-selected. So there is no, you don't come to a main room looking for Megan and I and Winkai and the rest of the team. You will just click and just go there. And you will see us when you go to one of those because we are the one moderating it and you're ready to perform. The presenters from the community service agencies in the United States are ready, they're excited. So we will open each session with the community service agency giving you an overview of what they do. The ones that are doing health disparity, I know there's a few of you here that are doctors or psychologists. They will talk about some of the problems we're having with healthy related issues and disparities, some of the policies and rules, some of the solutions, some of the programs, some of the innovation they use. So you have a sense of how we tackle this issue in a community-based approach in the US. Then your group will give a presentation around the same issue. And then we move to a forum discussion. And during the forum is when you each will say, you know, in my country, these are the problems, this is how we tackle them. Somebody else said, oh, in my country, this is, and that will be a very valuable thing because you're learning from each other how your different countries are approaching the same problems. And your American counterparts also are curious. They're very excited to learn how you tackle the same problems in different African countries. So it will be really an exchange. It's not about just, you know, them lecturing to you, but your presentation is also a way for them to learn. And then we go through a question where you will exchange, and the exchange will be very dynamic. And you can make a connection with any of these people because they have resources, they have programs, they have models that they're willing to share with any of you who might be interested. So we're organized. Cami is going to send the stuff out. We'll be ready to go. And we have our 4 sessions set. And you all are signed up. And let me quickly check before I turn it back over to Megan. How are you doing with your groups? Have you gotten together? Is your presentation coming together? Any group that hasn't certainly connected and putting their presentation together? Anybody having any troubles? It looks like no news is good news, Megan. I don't see any hands, so I trust that all is well.
Good. All right. Yes, Ashaba.
Yes, thank you. We got together with our group, but we still also, like, I can speak from my end, I still have to learn because I was placed in public health and I don't know anything about public health, but we are trying to work together because at least in our group, we have some doctors that should work for us. So I'm thinking about that personal presentation. With the group, it's understandable because we have doctors and some of the problems in African countries are the same. But the personal presentation is where I'm really thinking because from aviation into health, and maybe I'll try to add in my community work. I hope that is at least accepted and, you know, because I don't really know the general country. So I hope there'll be allowance for me to talk about public health in regards to my community work. That is what I wanted to say.
Yeah, no, Ashaba, that's a great question. And I think it probably others have this question too, right? You don't necessarily have to present on, the theme for your entire country, right? But rather speak from your own experience, right? So from your experience, you have a lot of expertise in community development work with girls and women and youth, right? So speak to that, right? I mean, that's connected to public health, right? So what kinds of challenges, what kind of innovations have you seen in response to public health from where you work? Right. So we don't,
Thank you.
you don't need to, yeah, we don't really want you to be like, going out and doing additional research on things that's not in your expertise, right? You guys are already the experts on a lot of the themes, right? So tell us, from your expertise, what is your view of public health? Jabril, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, no,
Thank you very much.
I think it makes sense. But also think about this. This is an opportunity because when you're a leader, you have to be well-rounded. You don't have to have expertise on everything, but you have to have some form of familiarity with so many different things. So if you want to be a leader, a top leader, you will have some expertise in something, but there's a lot of things you have to be familiar with in order to lead all kinds of different people. So this is your opportunity to say, wow, I really need to be a little bit more familiar with health-related issues in my country, even if it's not my expertise. So think of it as using this opportunity to continue to familiarize yourself and also broadening your scope of understanding of so many different aspects of and issues that affect the communities that you are hoping to lead and hoping to work with. And your group will help you anyway. Your group, this is why your group will support you in this endeavor as you work together.
Yeah, to sort of bring those comments together a little bit more. You'll all want to be speaking to these interconnected themes from your own position of expertise, right? So, for Ashaba, you do a lot of youth work and work with girls, right? So it's fine if your emphasis on public health is more oriented toward that perspective. That's a value added that you're bringing to the group. And your other colleagues will be presenting perhaps on issues to do with the health of elderly people, right? That's fine. We're not, the short duration of this presentation, we're not going to learn everything ever about public health across all of your countries. So I think, just keeping in mind that you'll want to be trying to think holistically and broadly with the cooperation of your teammates, but also remembering that you are all experts, right, on something very significant and that will be germane to that presentation. Chego, do you want to ask a question?
Oh no, so I've actually lowered my hand, but I was just saying, adding on to what was said now, sometimes it also makes you realize things that you haven't looked at in your work. So in as much as I thought that I'm working in education, this exercise made me realize that our organization is not looking at homelessness. So in as much as I could have said that I'm an education expert, I'm now having to upskill and quickly look. And so sometimes it just makes you realize things that you haven't seen in your work. Yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, and also I think, thinking internationally will be really useful here too, right? Homelessness does not mean the same thing, right? In the United States versus South Africa, right? For example, like the governments literally define these things differently. People's lived experiences are so different. So bringing that conversation, right, together with other African perspectives will be so valuable. Sarah, did you have a question as well?
Really a question, but I was just helping Ashaba from what Winkai told us on Saturday is like you have to connect, like Ashaba is doing aviation and maybe you're placed into public health, then you can just connect how public health affects the aviation industry. And you can come out to something that how can your government implement some things that can help other women or girls come into the industry. Maybe public health is something that affects the women that don't come into aviation industry. So she can, even if she's not a doctor as well, but she can use her sector to connect to other sectors and help to come out with ways to either prevent something to happen or engage people to come into board. That's what I wanted to add.
Yeah, no, you raised some great points that she could talk from her experience in, her paid profession, right, in aviation, and or in her community work, right? That's fine, right? All of you are coming to this program with a lot of different forms of expertise, right? Professional expertise, volunteering expertise. You may have expertise from your own personal experience of your family, right? You can draw on all of those perspectives for this presentation. Ashaba, did you want to say something else?
Yes, I wanted to thank my colleagues who, shared some of their points. I truly appreciate that. And I also want to thank you, Dr. Megan, because you actually answered exactly what I was asking. It's not that I'm not familiar with healthcare, because through my community work, we deal with menstruational health management. So girls can't afford pads and all of that. I just wanted to know if I could center that around my community practice as opposed to the entire country, which is too short for me to learn about the entire country right now. So you truly answered my question. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah, and you guys also just don't have enough time to talk about the whole country, right? So it's fine. I think that your partners in these U.S. institutions will be really interested in what your expertise is on Uganda and on other countries. Jabril, did you want to say anything else about that?
No, I think we answered it, unless anybody else had any other question. But other than that, I think we are on track. Everybody's good. So Cami is going to send you the final details as soon as we finish today. And if there are any questions, feel free to email Megan and I about any of these sessions that are coming up, particularly the community service session, if you have, and we'll be more than happy to clarify. I mean, unfortunately, the one thing we will not be able to do between now and Thursday is switching somebody to a new community service session, because it's just logistically, it's just very difficult. So if you ask us, it's just, well, Dr. Solomon, at the 11th hour, I need to switch to a different community service session. That might be a bit of a challenge, because it took a lot for Cami to organize. It's almost like a jigsaw puzzle. The whole thing will be undone.
Yeah, thank you. Wing Kai, do you want to add something else?
Yeah, I just wanted to recommend that if any of the groups already compile the PowerPoint presentations, you can also send this in advance to either your moderator along with Cami. So your moderator would have your PowerPoint, and that would help to facilitate that presentation. Or we will have to make you co-host or whatever for you to be able to share the screen. So to facilitate that session, it will be good that your moderator would have a chance to look at your PowerPoint presentations. So your community education group should send to Dr. Al-Abaidi. The public health group should send to Dr. Solomon. The homelessness group should send to Dr. Healy Clancy. And the gun violence group should send to myself. So then we have all your PowerPoint presentations. We know a little bit about your content. We might even give you some feedback before that if we want to. But it will just help us to be a little bit easier to facilitate that, because time is in the essence. We only have a limited amount of time for that day.
All right. Great. Okay. Are there any other we're a little over time today too. So are there any other questions or comments you'd like to make before we wrap up?
Also, good luck on your committee of practice. I know that it's a very important session as well for Thursday. This is going to be the last committee of practice, the second committee of practice session. So make sure you are able to complete all those three modules. Whatever field you are in. If you're 4 of you are in along with us in education, but you're in all the other fields, so you need to be engaged with that section and also work with your other committee of practice fellows as well.
All right, thank you. Yeah, Sir Fred, you commented that Bello is missing. Yeah, he wasn't here today. Is he unwell? Had you heard anything about him, Sir Fred?
Actually, no, ma'am, because we were supposed to have a session with him on Saturday.
Yeah.
He was not available.
Okay,
And
yeah,
I've
no,
tried-
he hasn't been here today either. So yeah, we
Mm.
can reach out to him and make sure all is well. It's not like him to miss sessions, so. Thanks. Sarah, one more question, comment, yeah?
Really a question. I was just asking, will the recordings be available for the culture, the community practice? Because we'll be in a different community session. So I hope BSU will compile all the sessions and we have a minute to see what others' practice was.
Yeah, so the community practice sessions are all recorded and you are able to view your community of practice session on Canvas. I don't believe that we do not have the capacity to see other communities of practice other than the education one. We could reach out to IREX to see if they would share recordings of other communities of practice. My suspicion is they will not, based on how this process has worked previously in terms of, like the pre-recorded sessions were sort of just for each community practice. Kai, have you heard anything else from the administrative side about that?
No, not for community of practice, but definitely for community service. For our 4 sessions, you're able to watch all.
Oh, that's what you're asking about. Were you asking about
Yeah.
community practice or community? Okay. So yeah, community of service. Yeah, totally. We'll put all those up. Those are all within our institute. Yeah. Sorry, I misunderstood the community question. Okay. That's a lot easier. So yes, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, I think we got to go.
Okay,
2:16.
awesome. All right, guys. All right, well, thanks so much. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow, hopefully for the optional session. If not, see you at 5.
And also the religious people have to
Yes.
observe the religious holiday. Let us know, and we'll have you do the makeup work for tomorrow. Unfortunately, we cannot change the day for tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, be well, everyone.
Doesn't need to be a religious. This is a national for some people, so it doesn't be a religious.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a national Eid for Muslims. So we should drop the word religious. It's not religious. It's just
the national
an event,
holiday.
national event. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you all so much.
Thank you. Good night.
Be well. See you soon. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Is Camiola?
Kemi just left. Yeah. Did you have a question?
She's supposed to open a Zoom page for us, our group.
I think she sent something on WhatsApp. Let's see. Yes, she should be sending you something on WhatsApp. Did you see? Yeah, this is just
okay.
So you got it.
Okay, I will check.
Okay, sure. All right,
Okay.
thanks. Bye. All right, Simche, do you have any questions? Are you all set? All right, good night. I'll see you later.